Today we're diving into an absolutely incredible story. It's about how one of the worst business ideas of 1999 somehow became the billion-dollar giant we all know as PayPal. And it all starts with a mission that was so unbelievably audacious, you kind of have to hear it to believe it.
Yeah, you heard that right. This was their actual mission. They weren't trying to make payments just a little bit easier or build some cool new app. Nope. They wanted to completely replace the US dollar. To even understand that level of ambition, you have to remember the wild times they were living in back in late 1999.
The late 90s were just a time of pure mania. It was the height of the dot-com bubble. Money was basically free. Insane ideas were getting funded left and right, and it really felt like the internet was about to change absolutely everything. This was the backdrop, this irrational exuberance that fueled PayPal's crazy, world-changing vision.
Okay, so you've got this mission to overthrow the global financial system, and you've got an economy that's basically cheering on radical ideas. So what's your first move? Well, this is where that huge grand vision crashes headfirst into a very, very clumsy reality. And there it is, the first shot fired in the financial revolution, a piece of software to send money between two PalmPilots. I mean, it was a cool piece of engineering for sure, but you have to ask, who on earth actually needed this? The public's answer came back pretty fast, and man, was it brutal. So there you have it. It wasn't just a quiet failure. It was a publicly declared, award-winning failure. It was official. PayPal's first big idea was considered a total joke. So the question is, what went so horribly wrong?
All right, let's really break this down. Because if you don't understand why this first idea failed so hard, you can't understand their incredible success later on. This wasn't just bad luck. Their whole strategy was fundamentally flawed from the get-go.
So here's the problem in a nutshell. A complete and total lack of product-market fit. I mean, think about it. Back then, PalmPilots were this niche gadget for tech geeks, and the people who owned them were scattered all over the country. They didn't really have anything in common, so why would they need to send money to each other? It was basically a solution desperately looking for a problem that just didn't exist.
You know, this is the moment of truth for any company. Do you just stubbornly push forward, insisting that the world just doesn't get your genius yet? Or do you face the music, admit you were wrong, and change course? For PayPal, the answer was to pivot, and to pivot hard.
They had this huge realization. Their mistake wasn't the core idea of digital money. The mistake was how they were trying to deliver it. They needed to get away from a niche gadget and move to something that basically everyone was already using. And in 1999, what was that one thing? Email.
And this right here shows you the absolute genius of that pivot. They swapped the obscure for the everyday. Instead of a few million scattered PalmPilot owners, they could now reach hundreds of millions of people who had an email address. Just like that, their potential market exploded overnight. But, you know, a better product isn't enough. You still have to get people to actually use it. So even with email payments, things were still moving kind of slow. They needed a spark, a catalyst, to get a critical mass of users. So they decided to do something that was both perfectly normal for the dot-com era and, at the same time, completely insane. They just started paying people to use their product. The strategy was just beautiful in its simplicity. We'll give you $10 to sign up. Then we'll give you another $10 for every friend you bring in. It was basically a bribe, and let me tell you, it worked like an absolute charm. It kicked off this viral loop that started pulling in users by the hundreds of thousands. Just stop and think about that number for a second. 7% growth daily. That's the kind of insane exponential curve that builds empires. Their user base was almost doubling every 10 days. But that kind of growth also comes with an absolutely terrifying price tag. I mean, they were literally just burning through mountains of cash. When you're paying for exponential growth, your costs are also growing exponentially. It was a race against the clock. They had to find a core group of people who would actually use the service and make it profitable before all the money was gone. And this was the secret sauce. They didn't just throw money at anyone with an email. They found their perfect first customers, a small, super concentrated group of a few thousand people who had a burning, desperate need for what they were selling. These were eBay's power sellers, and they hated the slow, clunky payment systems they were forced to use. And the results? I mean, look at this. In just 3 months, they captured a quarter of this incredibly valuable market. By solving a huge pain point for a small, influential group, they established a beachhead. Those power sellers started putting PayPal logos on their auctions, and suddenly, PayPal was everywhere on eBay.
So what's the big lesson here? What can we take away from this wild turnaround? Well, it's a lesson that kind of runs completely opposite to that whole go big or go home attitude you hear about all the time in Silicon Valley.
This quote from co-founder Peter Thiel just nails it. Instead of trying to boil the entire ocean, they found one small pond where they could be the biggest fish. And this isn't just some one-off fluke. It's actually a proven pattern for massive success.
Seriously, think about it. eBay didn't start off trying to be the everything store. They totally dominated the niche market of Beanie Baby collectors. And Facebook? It didn't launch to the entire world at once. It started by completely conquering one single college campus, Harvard. The strategy is always the same. Dominate a small, specific market first, and then expand from there. So whatever happened to that grand mission of replacing the US dollar? Well, the PayPal story really shows us that the path to true innovation is almost never a straight line. They didn't really abandon their vision. They just finally understood that the only way to get there was by first solving a real, painful problem for a small group of people. It turns out the best plan isn't the biggest one, it's the one that can actually adapt to reality.
It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? How many of the biggest, most successful companies we see today started out as an idea that everyone else just wrote off as a total failure? It's a powerful thing to think about. Thanks for joining me for this one.